So in an earlier video, we have seen how probabilistic reasoning over time, the so-called Bayes filters, were able to process, let's say, object detectors' output to further enhance them, and they're working at a representation that's actually called state. And the state is evidently back then it was kind of time varying, and we were able to apply hidden Markov models and other Bayesian filters like Kalman filters effectively to be able to provide tracking abilities, let's say, to an agent. And tracking, obviously, it was kind of a very important characteristic of anything that has to do with computer vision. Right now, what we will do is we'll kind of step back and actually ask the question, okay, what about other forms of reasoning that are not necessarily involve perception, or when, if they do, we have some kind of form of interruption of the perceptive kind of stream, but still we are called to actually reason about, let's say, an object. And that object may actually be a bit more, quite different than an object of the physical world. And in fact, our world models could actually be things such as networks in the cloud, or a whole bunch of resources in the cloud. And in this kind of application kind of setting, we may be asking queries, what about, let's say, the security footprint, let's say, of my deployment in a cloud deployment. In that case, the world is not consisting of cameras, but the world is consisting of some kind of a resource representation, let's say Terraform, which is one of the most popular kind of resource representation languages for cloud deployments. And the query will come, can I SSH into this server or not? And the queries are actually going to be fairly easy to respond to if just one server or two, a handful of servers, but very difficult if the cloud resources are in the many millions of containers and associated resources. So a lot of companies, including AWS, and you can actually see here their approach into how to provide this kind of capabilities, and by developing tools associated with logical reasoning, how they have sort of enabled their customers to answer such kind of complicated queries about the world. In that case, the world is a cloud deployment. So we will, in summary, what we will do in this kind of lecture, we will discuss how to represent the so-called sentences, logical sentences, and we will be focusing in this kind of lecture on propositional logic, which is basically the simplest form of logic. However, even that simplest form of logic is a good starting point for many of you who just want to get into the field and then later on study higher orders of logic, such as the first order logic.